welcome to the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago Auditorium. In order to ensure a pleasurable and safe experience at this evening's presentation, we ask that you listen attentively to the following safety announcement. Patrons are reminded that eating, drinking, and smoking are not allowed inside the auditorium. The use of flash photography or any other recording device is strictly prohibited. In the unlikely event of an emergency, we ask that you make your way in an orderly manner to the nearest exit. These are located to the rear of the seated area of both the main house and the balcony levels. We ask that you take the time now to identify these exits. Once through these exits, proceed left or right towards the staircase using the emergency exit, which is the same as the exit from the auditorium. Do not use the elevators. Once in the staircase, use the handrail and keep moving downwards to the ground floor, where further instructions would be given by the bank's security personnel. We thank you for your attention and patience, and do enjoy this evening's presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this special opening event of the 2025 Bocas Lit Fest, paying tribute to Earl Loveless in the year of his 90th birthday. My name is Ianka Williams, and I'm thrilled to be your host for this once-in-a-lifetime event celebrating one of Trinidad and Tobago's most iconic authors. We are honored tonight to be in the presence of so many distinguished persons, and as we begin, I'd like to acknowledge some special guests on behalf of all of the speakers to follow. Dr. Alvin Hilaire, Governor of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, Earl Loveless, distinguished author, and of course members of the Loveless family, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Professor Kenneth Ramchand, Inaugural Earl Loveless Distinguished Lecturer, Marina Salandi Brown, founder and president of the Bocas Lit Fest, and fellow Lit Fest directors, Jean-Claude Conneau, the CEO of the Bocas Lit Fest, Nicholas Lachlan, the festival director for Bocas Lit Fest, Leslie Clarke, director of Murphy Clarke Financial Limited, Professor Rosemary Bell Antwine, principal of St. Augustine Campus for the University of the West Indies, Bocas Lit Fest sponsors and partners from Trinidad and Tobago and abroad, writers, friends, volunteers, members of the media, and everyone watching this festival on the live stream as well. I am sure all of you are familiar with our guest of honor and his contributions to the literature of Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, and the world. But allow me, if any occasion, tonight, to refresh your memory of the details. Earl Loveless was born on the 13th of July, 1935 in Togo. He spent a formative part of his childhood, up to age 11, living in Tobago with his grandparents before returning to Trinidad. As a young man, he worked as a proofreader at the Trinidad Guardian, just a couple blocks away from us, and later for the Department of Forestry and the Ministry of Agriculture as a forest ranger and agricultural officer. During this time, he began to write seriously, and in 1962, the manuscript for his first novel, While Gods Are Falling, won the BP Independence Literary Competition, just the first of his awards. Eventually published in 1965, While Gods Are Falling was followed over the next 5 decades by novels The Schoolmaster, The Dragon Can't Dance, The Wine of Astonishment, Salt, winner of the 1997 Commonwealth Writers' Prize, and It's Just a Movie, winner of the 2012 OCM Bocas Prize for Caribbean Literature. Loveless has also published collections of short stories, plays, and essays, and now, in his 90th year, he has published his debut book of poems, The Beginning of a Journey. Over the years, he's also received Guggenheimer Fellowship and Honorary Doctorate from the University of the West Indies, and the Zirconia Medal Gold from the Government of Trinidad and Tobago, among other honors. His books have been widely taught at universities, are longtime fixtures on the secondary school syllabus, and are beloved by many readers for their energetic prose, their humor, their unforgettable characters, and for their vital engagement with the culture and language of TNT. Earl Loveless is also a fixture here at the Bogus Lit Fest, Trinidad and Tobago's festival of words, stories, and ideas. Fitting, right? Having appeared on the festival stage numerous times over the years, it is only apt that we honor him. And it is just one reason that it is appropriate to honor him at this official opening of the 15th annual festival. In this milestone year, the festival theme is Always Coming Home. And we are grateful that the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago has welcomed us to their home here at the Eric Williams Financial Complex, where so many occasions of national importance have unfolded. The Central Bank is, of course, led by Governor and Chairman Dr. Alvin Hilaire, who is here to give us some words of greeting. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Alvin Hilaire.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Aika, for giving all the salutations beforehand. Welcome to your Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. It's an honor and pleasure for us to host this event, and we are happy to have been chosen. But there's always a flip side to things, and the bad news is that you have to listen to me talking about monetary policy. And don't even think about leaving now, because I've instructed the security to close the doors until I finish. But why am I putting it like that? I remember around Christmas time, a family friend was by us and said, "Listen, Alvin, you like a little salsa, you like calypso, writing a little bit, you could draw a little bit and all that, you like art. But your job must be very boring, because it's just numbers and equations and all." And I had to say, far from it. It's all art. Monetary policy is art. Everything we do is art. And our first local governor, Mr. Victor Bruce, coined the expression for what we do at the Central Bank, an art perfected by practice. And so, let me just chat a little bit about that. Now, some of it could be fairly obvious in the sense that we have an art museum, and welcome to everyone to our exhibit curated lovingly by our people, Naima and all of them, for this great Bokas Lit Fest. So that will be until, I think, the 23rd. We have wonderful paintings, we have all of this thing, but it also gets into, well, what do we put on our currency? We have to look at it, we have to be sensitive to the design, the birds, all of these things. We are tricky people in Trinidad and Tobago, so you have to be very careful. But it also gets into how do we portray it and how do we deliver it to our public. So let me give you some of the background stuff. So the $1 bill, the red $1 bill with the red house, was launched on, what do you call it, Valentine's Day in 2021, with a picture in the background on the newspaper and on social media of the female battalion of the police service. And behind them, there were balloons in red, white, and black coming up. Now, I'm sure our first female president of Trinidad and Tobago would have been happy about all of this. So, Valentine's Day for this. Our $50 bill we introduced on the same day that would have been carnival in 2021, but we had the pandemic. The carnival theme, and we had a carnival picture behind it, and then we had a sign saying, "And we make good company," right? Now, I had to deal with our staff. They say, "Benjai will sue you," and all kind of things. I say, "Don't worry about that. He good," right? We have the $100 bill now, and we're introducing it with the new coat of arms and steel pan. We introduced that or shared the design on the semifinals of Panorama Day this year. Now, of course, we're talking about currency and so, but it also gets into other things. So like when we have to talk about monetary policy in the pandemic and say, well, the reduction in the reserve requirement and the repo rate will help you deal with your economic situation and all that, we have to discuss this and portray this to a panicking public. So all of this is part of our work, part of our communication, part of our art. Now, is that really psychologically manipulating our public? Well, we don't think so. We hope not. And we more think of it like what shadows say, we feel in the feeling. And we try to communicate with our people and our public. But now, today, we are celebrating Boca's Lit Fest. And I want to congratulate the organizers and everyone for being part of this wonderful occasion. It is literally, art is very tricky and very important. Your own president talked about it being preserving history and also articulating a sense of identity. And this is very important and very powerful, but it bears a lot of responsibility, particularly in today's world, where we could say that we fear that people are reading less because they are reading more. Well, the governor has lost it. What is he saying? I was in Washington recently last week, and you go on the train, everybody's on their phone. So they are reading more. People are reading more. All the youths are reading more. But what are they reading? They're reading text. They're reading TikTok. They're reading all this. They want everything in a hurry. They want it now, and they want it short and sharp. So you have work to do to convince people to be able to get into themselves and understand this thing. So I wish you good luck on this journey. I've seen the ambitious, very comprehensive agenda, and I think it is very, I like it. It involves not only the literary arts, but it involves the extempo and all the things with the film and so forth, and also workshops for young children. I do have a suggestion which I'll humbly make in a little while. Right. But now we come to the theme of this presentation this year, which is Always Coming Home. And I think it is apt because at this central bank, this is what we think about because we center ourselves in our work in Trinidad and Tobago. And the honoree today, Mr. Earl Loveless, embodies all of this thing in terms of his work, the way he has lived his life, his commitment and presence in Trinidad and Tobago. So we want to be very proud of that. As Ainka said, he has been through all different parts of the country, and as Kenneth Ramchand has articulated, that he has been living among the people as an artist observing. This is quite profound, and I think it's a responsibility, and we have to be really proud of that and thank him for his contribution while living and working among us. I must confess, and I must, with a sense of pride, that we share something together. We both went to the best primary school in Trinidad and Tobago, Nelson Street Boys RC. So shout out to our guys there. And I would say, but stretching it a little bit, that he helped in this helped in my foray into literature. You may find it stretching it, but legend has it that my mom said that listen, Alvin, you could sing Ben Wood Dick now, you could go to school. So, so in other words, okay, I'm stretching it, right? But I want to thank Mr. Lovelace for his work with the school, for reading aloud with them in 2020, and for contributing to our foundation. Now, when we think of what we do, we have to say, well, I like to think of it as art is everything. You have the literary arts, but you have other aspects of art. And I guess also Mr. Lovelace is really portrays that in his behavior and in his work. Even his children, I notice his children are, I'm sure they do some writing, but they are artists, they are filmmakers, and so forth. And I was wondering if it's just a way of, getting free labor or so, or getting them to pay back for bringing them up. But nonetheless, and we in Trinidad and Tobago, and I certainly believe of art as not just literary, but embracing the whole self-expression, whether it's in dance, literature, architecture, music, calypso, and so forth. So for me, some of these things are comforting in certain powerful images. So like we have the best steel band in the land playing Woman on the Bass. Well, why do for people to leave the party, right? So there's a very powerful thing. Then you have the Bosco Holder and Rita Christiani dancing the beginning. Not the Fred Astaire one, the real one from Guadeloupe. You go to Jackie Hinkson and you spend half an hour trying to figure out, well, what exactly this thing is worth. And you smile because you finally get it. All of these things, the architecture of St. James, when you see the big buildings, houses with huge dormers, with broad balconies, with what we call jalousies in the day. They are impervious to hurricanes, lots of natural light, and they're cool. You don't need any air conditioning. Then we have a couple of important other images. Super Blue singing on the speaker in Soca Monarch. A few years after, his pregnant daughter singing a tribute to her father and also winning. Then we have, well, for me, last year in Coquettes, in Lost Tribe, to No Place Like Home, or in 1989, listening to Carl and Carol, Mass Without Mercy. I don't know if anybody remember that. Man Without Mercy to Minchel's Santimanité. Or listening and waiting every year for when we have our mini concert, Calypso concert with Tuko for Brother Lutelo Masimba. Some of you know him as Brother Resistance. He gave us some messages. And his mantra was always, by Calypso, our stories are told. And there's a small suggestion that I have, maybe in the Bocas Lit Fest, you could spend a little more time talking about Calypso and how does it actually, is it evolving? Is it telling our stories? Is it not? Has it lost its relevance? That would be interesting. I mean, you have the extempo, but think about it. Right. So now, let's wrap up so we could open the doors. What does this all come down to? It comes down in our feeling at the central bank to art is everything, even monetary policy. But let's finish with looking at what does it mean for our self-worth, our self-confidence, and our validation. Do we need external validation? And I want to end with an article that I read from Ira Mathur talking with Brother Loveless in 2023, that in fact he's saying that we should actually get deeper into ourselves, to understand ourselves, to discover ourselves We don't need external validation necessarily, and we need to be honest and straightforward and patient with ourselves. So let me leave it at that, and thank you very much. And security, you can open the doors. Thank you.
The doors are open. And that ushers in what I think sounded like a future partnership, because if you're making suggestions, and we are welcome home here at the Central Bank, fingers crossed for even more great things to come. And tonight there will be many great things, some of which I'm really looking forward to. But before that, thank you, of course, to Governor Hilaire, and thank you to the whole team at Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago for your generous support. Celebrating Caribbean writers and amplifying their work has been at the heart of the Bocas Lit Fest's mission since the inaugural festival in 2011. The festival team is led by Nicholas Laughlin, the festival director. So let's welcome him to share some thoughts on the significance of this evening's proceedings. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicholas.
Good evening, everyone. In 2011, which was coincidentally the same year as the first Bocas Lit Fest, Earl Lovelace delivered a lecture in Jamaica, the 5th Edward Bohr Distinguished Lecture at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. On that occasion, Lovelace asked a question he has raised at other times, in other circumstances, a question that resonates within the wider body of his work, and a question that should preoccupy us, if not haunt us, as Caribbean people. What have we done with what we have done? It's a question that may at first sound simple, but it truly isn't. It requires us in the first place to consider who we are, who is and is not encompassed in that plural pronoun. It requires us also to define concepts of agency and achievement. It's easy enough to agree to commend the accomplishments of our writers, artists, musicians, scholars, our athletes, entrepreneurs, national leaders, activists, philanthropists. But in its context, Lovelace's question, what have we done with what we have done, also, and perhaps more crucially, asks us to recognize the significance of the innumerable ways that ordinary Caribbean people have created our societies through innumerable acts of survival, pushing back against every kind of force that tries to diminish us. To ask, what have we done with what we have done, is to ask how we value these ordinary or extraordinary everyday acts alongside the more conventionally laudable achievements of our exemplars, and to ask, what do we do next? Which brings me back to the reason we're here this evening, because for us at the Bocas Lit Fest, this tribute to Lovelace in his 90th year is just one partial but vital response to the challenge in the question, what have we done with what we have done? This evening, we celebrate Earl Lovelace for his distinguished body of work, the pleasure his novels and stories have given to generations of readers, and his influence on contemporary Caribbean literature. And we also assert the value of his writing, of the people and phenomena he has written about, the ideas and arguments he has advanced, the work he has done, their value in our continuing quest for self-determination, in understanding who we are, how we came to be, what we might become. This is no radical departure from the Bocas Lit Fest's original and ongoing mission and methods. We began 15 years ago with the conviction that of all the ways Caribbean people have excelled, our literature, our words, stories, and ideas is a heritage of scope and significance far out of proportion to the size of our relatively small populations. We believed then, and we believe now, that the splendid accomplishments of Caribbean writers to date are more than matched by the potential of our writers still to come. Above all, We believe that literature is for everybody, that our writers deserve the broadest possible audience, and that all of us deserve writing that shows what we have done and provokes us to do more, whether that comes in the form of printed books and magazines, digital media, or live performance. Frankly, it overwhelms me to think of the sheer number of discussions, readings, workshops, seminars, performances, prizes, and fellowships that the Bocas Lit Fest has instigated, curated, hosted, staged, and awarded over the past 15 years for authors and audiences of all ages, here at home and elsewhere on 5 continents. I was taken aback by our recent calculation that over the past decade and a half, the Bocas Lit Fest has run more than 1,000 individual literary events and activities. Including events at over 250 schools across Trinidad and Tobago, reaching something like 100,000 children and young people, the next generation of writers and readers. I say this not in self-congratulation, or not only in self-congratulation, but in recognition that as much as we've actually done, there is so much more we could do and need to do to showcase our books and writers, nurture new literary talent, build new audiences. This evening, therefore, inaugurates another element in our long-term agenda. It is our hope and our ambition that the Earl Loveless Distinguished Lecture, modeled on the long-established Eric Williams Memorial Lecture, will become not only an annual event, but an event of regional significance, honoring the achievements and legacies of Loveless, yes, but also opening a new forum for discussing and debating the meaning and the value created by our writers and artists in all forms. Loveless is a writer deeply engaged with our society, generous in looking and listening, shrewd in questioning, sensitive to this society's tensions, but also its possibilities. His writing contends and puts us readers in contention with our most urgent problems, and Loveless deploys his insight and imagination and his precisely rambling prose in crafting a vision of Trinidad and Tobago that embraces our failures and our graces, our ugliness and our tall, hot beauty. We may not always like or agree with that vision, but a writer like Earl Loveless compels us to question, to argue, to decide what we believe about ourselves in our place and our time and what we are capable of, what we will do with what we have done. As I end, I want to acknowledge an absence here this evening that is also a presence. Funsho Ayejina was a writer, scholar, teacher, professor at the University of the West Indies, friend and ally of the Bocas Lit Fest and of Earl Loveless. He researched and wrote about and taught Loveless's books, wrote a biography of Loveless and made a film about him, and over the years gave practical support to Loveless's writing in progress. Almost a year ago, when the idea for this Earl Loveless Distinguished Lecture began to take shape, Funsho was one of the first people I spoke to about it. He pledged his help, and I expected to lean on his knowledge and advice. I certainly expected he would be here this evening. But as many of you know, Funsho died unexpectedly at the start of last July. I miss him, but at the same time, I feel that he lingers with us, not just in our memories, but in our motivations. To the best of my knowledge, the last piece of writing Funsho published before he died was actually an essay review of Loveless's novel, It's Just a Movie. I recently reread that piece, and because perhaps we were in the middle of a general election campaign, Funsho's concluding lines seemed particularly apt. He notes that one of the final scenes in It's Just a Movie describes a Juve mud mass. Funsho calls it a dawn realm of unscripted plays, ceremonies, and organic rituals of personal and communal rebirth. Then he ends, and I end, with this. Loveless signals that in a multicultural nation, the federating constituencies must exercise their freedom to create, recreate, and insert their various versions of themselves into the national crucible, the crossroads of belonging for all classes, genders, and races. From the crossroads of belonging, I thank Funcho Ayejina, and above all, I thank Earl Loveless for his books, for the provocation of his ideas, for staying, and for honoring us with his presence this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. In a few moments, we will welcome to the stage Professor Kenneth Ramchand to deliver the inaugural Earl Loveless Distinguished Lecture. But first, we'll have the pleasure of hearing short passages from two of Lovelace's earlier novels read by TNT writers who have followed in his footsteps in different ways. First, we'll hear an excerpt from Lovelace's 1968 novel, The Schoolmaster, read by Kevin Jared Hosein, followed by an excerpt from the classic novel The Dragon Can't Dance, read by Barbara Jenkins.
Good evening. The Schoolmaster, Chapter 1. Dry season reached now. Sunlight blazes the hills, and scattered between the hills is valuable timber trees. The cedar, Angeline, Laurier, Matak, Galba, and Maho, the Pui, is dropping rich yellow flowers like a madman throwing away gold. Down on the flat, and in the crotches of the land, where the two rivers stagger through the blue stone so plentiful in Kumaka, the water is clear, and in places ice cold. The soil is rich, deep, and black. The immortal holds its scarlet blossoms still, and on the stems of cocoa which it shades, pods have turned yellow or red and are in waiting. It is time. The cocoa is ready for harvesting. In the village, the harvest is something to think of. It brings money into the humblest household, and even to a people whose needs are simple, desires few, whose women burn dried wood in firesides made of clay. Money is a great something. For there's the account at the shop of Dardane that one needs to pay, and one has his eyes on a radio such as the one that Constantine Patron plays in his house. And maybe among the men there are those who would like to leave Kumaka for a few days and go down to the plain beyond the hill and the forest and the broken Balata Bridge, where in the wet season and even in the dry landslides fill the track with loose earth and mud, and one must get off the donkeys and go on foot, go down past Valencia to the town of Zanilla, with the big courthouse building and the tall policemen and the many radios playing in the shops of the clean streets and the green painted cinema house where for a price you can go in and watch men on horses shoot guns, and make fine talk, and kiss pretty girls, and where in the crowded rum shops it is easy to get drunk again, with friends of the year before. And there are those among the young men who are itching to travel to that big, fast, and terrible city that is Port of Spain, to watch tram cars run on rails of steel in the streets of asphalt, and to look at the big signs which they wish they could read. But this is a dream, for very few of the villagers in their lives have been to the city, except Constantine Patron, Pauline Dandrade, and Dardane the shopkeeper, who actually worked in the city for some time. But above every other thought, what is uppermost in the minds of all Kumaka is that big fete at the end of the harvest when Easter is beginning, People come from Valencia, from Zanilla, even from Mamaral and as far as Blanchisseuse. That is Fete Papa. With such eating, wild meats caught by the men and prepared by the women, and farine from cassava, and corn and sweet potato pemi, and drinking rum, and fruit wine, and cashew and guava, and sorrel and morbi, and singing and dancing. There's the orchestra led by Miguel, the white-haired brother of Constantine Patron, with the fiddle and the quattros and the flute and the tambourines of Ascension and Martin and Felix Papanet. Then the sports, with running races and climbing the greasy pole and the tug of war, which always brings so much laughter, and the eating competition, which is so often won by Lando, who is also the champion stick fighter. And there are the cockfights, which are in themselves another festival, with cocks coming all the way from Diego Martin and Maraval. This the villagers think of. But first, they have to walk. The cocoa pods must be picked, with the knife-sharp glaze on the ends of long, slim bamboo rods, guarded, opened, beans taken out by the women, and put in baskets to be taken to the fermentary, where they must remain for at least 1 week. Before being removed and spread in the sun to dry. And even then, that is not the end. Because time comes when the beans must be polished by the men and women dancing upon them with their bare feet, with much singing and clapping of hands. Then only are the beans bagged and taken to the shop of Dardine, who has a license from the government to deal in cocoa. Yes, it is much work. That was what young Pedro Acevero, laboring on the estate of Pauline D'Andrade, was thinking, as he carried the basket full of wet beans upon his head from the field to the donkey cart on the track across the train. Work! Well, work and Pedro were no great friends. Mischief and music, yes. Work, no. But how else could he get the money to buy the fawn-colored tweed pants and the long-sleeve blue shirt that he had seen at the shop of Dardine? Christiana, the daughter of Mr. Pauline, would be at the fete, and he'd want to ask her to dance. And he'd want to play again for her the flute he had made with his own hands from the tin bamboo that grows at the edges of the river, and sing for her a song, and maybe say to her sing to her face the soft words of his heart that was so hard to speak. But first, work. Yes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. The dragon can't dance. Thank you. Lovely, thank you. The dragon can't dance. The hill. This is the hill, tall above the city, where Taffy, a man who say he is Christ, put himself up on a cross one burning midday and said to his fellows, "Crucify me. Let me die for my people. Stone me with stones as you stoned Jesus. I will love you still." And when they start to stone him in truth, he get vexed and start to cuss. "Get me down, get me down," he say. "Let every sinner man bear his own blasted burden. Who is I to die for people who have sense enough to know they can't pelt a man with big stones when so much a little pebbles lying on the ground?" This is the hill, Calvary Hill, where the sun sets on starvation and rise on pothole roads, thrones for stray dogs that you could play banjo on their rib bones, holding garbage piled high like a cathedral spire, sparkling with flies, buzzing like torpedoes, And if you want to pass from your yard to the road, you have to be a high jumper to jump over the gutter full up with dirty water and hold your nose. Is noise whole day. Laughter is not laughter, it is a groan coming from the bosom of these houses, no, not houses, shacks that leap out of the red dirt and stone, thin like smoke, fragile like kite paper, balancing on their rickety pillars as broomsticks on the edge of a juggler's nose. This is the hill, swelling and curling like a mackerel snake from Observatory Street to the mango fields and the back of Mouvant, its guts stretched to bursting with 1,000 narrow streets and alleys and lanes and traces, and the hill, Calvary Hill, where the sun set on holes, holding the people who come on the edge of this city to make it home. This hill is it. And in it, in Alice Street, named for Princess Alice, the Queen's aunt, Alice, soft word on the lips, is a yard before which grows a Governor plum tree that has battled its way up through the tough red dirt and stands now, its roots spread out like claws gripping the earth, its leaves rust red and green, a bouquet in this desert place. A tree bearing fruit that never ripens for Miss Olive Seven and the area's other children, lean and hard like whips, their wise yellowed eyes filled with malnutrition and too early knowing. Innocence was in the womb. Children imitating the grown-up laughter and the big man pose of their elders who survive here, holding their poverty as a possession, tending it as stubbornly as Miss Cleotilda tends her flower garden, clasping it to their bosom as a passkey whose function they only half remembered now, and grown rusty, they wore as jewelry, a charmed medallion whose magic invested them with a mysterious purity, made them the blue bloods of a resistance lived by their ancestors all through slavery, carried on in their unceasing escape as maroons, as runaways, as bush Negroes, as rebels. And when they could not perform in space that escape that would take them away from the scene of their brutalization, they took a stand in the very guts of the slave plantation among tobacco and coffee and cotton and canes, asserting their humanness in the most wonderful acts of sabotage they could imagine and perform, making a religion of laziness and neglect and stupidity and waste, singing hosannas for flood and hurricane and earthquake, praying for damage and pestilence, continuing it still after emancipation that emancipated them to a more profound idleness and waste, when, refusing to be grist for the mill of the colonial machinery that kept on grinding in its belly people to spit out sugar and cocoa and copper, they turned up this hill to pitch camp here on the eyebrow of the enemy, to cultivate again, with no less fervor, the religion with its trinity of idleness, laziness, and waste. So that now, 125 years after emancipation, Aldrich Prospect, an aristocrat in this tradition, not knowing where his next meal was coming from, would get up at midday from sleep, yawn, stretch, then start to think about where he might get something to eat, his brain working in the same smooth, unhurried nonchalance with which he moved his feet, a slow, cruising crawl, which he quickened only at Carnival. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Jared Hosein and Barbara Jenkins, for immersing us in Lovelace's words. Now we've come to this evening's main event, the inaugural Earl Loveless Distinguished Lecture, to be delivered by the eminent literary scholar, Professor Kenneth Ramchand. Now, a truly comprehensive account of Professor Ramchand's career would exhaust the time we have here on stage, but again, allow me a short summary. Kenneth Ramchand is Emeritus Professor of West Indian Literature at the University of West Indies, where he taught for many years on both Mona campus in Jamaica and St. Augustine campus in Trinidad. He is also Emeritus Professor at Colgate University in the United States. He is a former president of the University of Trinidad and Tobago and former independent senator of Trinidad and Tobago. One of the most influential scholars and critics of Caribbean literature, Professor Ramchand is the author of the seminal book, The West Indian Novel and Its Background, first published in 1970, and many dozens of essays, reviews, introductions, lectures, and newspaper columns. His scholarly work was crucial in establishing West Indian literature as an academic discipline. Among other honors, he has been awarded a Chaconia Medal Gold by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Bocas Henry Swansea Award for Distinguished Service to Caribbean Letters. It is an honor to have him here with us. But before we welcome him to the stage, we have a bit of a surprise. In an unprecedented turn of events, if you will, the man himself has agreed to grace us with a reading. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask for a moment as we make sure he is set comfortably. I give our photographers and videographers the opportunity to set themselves up as well, as we will now have a bit of a reading from Mr. Earl Loveless.
Okay. Watch the landscape of this island. He began with the self-assured conviction that my mother couldn't stand in him. And you know they could have never hold people here surrendered to unfreedom. The sky, the sea, every green leaf and tangle of vines sing freedom. Birds frisk and flitter and whistle and sing. Just so a yard cock will draw up his chest and crow. Things have their own mind. The rain decides when it's going to fall. Sometimes in the middle of the day, the sky clear, you hear a rushing, swooping sound, and whoops, it fall down. Other times, it's set up whole day, and when you're sure that now, yes, it's going to fall, it just clear away. It had no brooding, inscrutable wilderness here. There was no wild and passionate uproar to make people feel there's beast, to stir this great evil wickedness in their blood, to make them want to go out and murder people. Maybe that madness sees Columbus and the first set of conquerors when they land here and wanted the Carib people to believe that they was gods. But afterwards, after they settle in the island and decide that yes, is here we're going to live now, they discover how hard it was to be gods. The heat, the diseases, the weight of armor they had to carry in the hot sun, the imperial poses they had to strike, the powdered wigs to wear, the churches to build, the heathen to baptize, the illiterates to educate, the animals to tame, the numerous species of plants to name, history to write, flags to plant, parades to make, the militia to assemble, letters to write home. And all around them, this rousing greenness bursting in the wet season, and another quieter shade perspiring in the dry. On top of that, they had to put up with noise from black people. All night black people have the drums going as they dance in the bush. All those dances, all those lascivious bodies leaping and bending down. They couldn't see them in the dark among the shadows and trees, but they could hear. They had to listen to them dance the bambula, the kwelbe. All right. All right. The Manding, the Juba, the Igbo, the PK, the Haliko, the Cromanti, the Congo, the Bishop, the Bendo, the Pencor, the Cherub, the Calendar, the Bongo. It was hard for white people. It had times they just wanted to jump into the sea and take a sea bath. To romp with a girl on a bed of dead leaves underneath the umbrella of cocoa trees. They tried, but they had it very hard. They walked a little distance and then they had to stop. Perspiration soaking them, sticking their bodies close to their bodies. It was so hot. They had to get these big roomy cork hats to wear to keep the brain cool. They had to get people to fan them, people to carry the swords, people to carry cushions for them to sit on. They had to get people to beat people for them, to dish out lashes, 75, 35, 85. But what else to do? People had to get licks to keep them in line. How else they would carry on the work, feeding all those people, giving them rations, putting clothes on their back, and it was hard. It was very hard to mold the Negro character, to stamp out his savage tendencies. Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you ever so kindly, Mr. Loveless. We truly appreciate that. And yes, as promised, we'll now have the inaugural lecture by Professor Kenneth Ramchand.
Yes, thank you. It is a privilege to be in the presence of a living legend and friend from a long time, and to take part in a ceremony to honor him and his achievements in his 90th year. Earl Lovelace's first novel, While Gods Are Falling, published in 1965, won the BP Independence Literary Competition. And should I say, ironically, throughout his long career As the island's writer-in-residence, he has raised philosophical questions about the meaning of independence. He has looked critically at what we have done with it since 1962, and almost in reproof of the present, he has moved back and forth over 300 years of our history to invoke from silence and forgetting the spirit of independence as it manifested in the eruptions of larger-than-life figures in history, fable, and myth, as well as in the instinctual actions and being of wayward, untamed, and provoking spirit of the ordinary people of the country. They're too hardened. They don't learn what you try to teach them. They don't hear you. They forget. You tell a man to do something, and he tell you, he forget. You tell him to shoot, and he forget to load the rifle. You tell him to get up at 5, and 9 o'clock, he now yawning and stretching. He didn't hear you. Or he hears something different to what you tell him. You is the expert, but he believes he knows better than you what it is you want him to do. And he do it, and he mess it up. Lovelace celebrates the staying power of these people, a quality manifesting in the round of their daily lives, in religion, superstition, and folklore, in emanations from collective memory and the collective unconscious, and in the sustaining fluidity of an aesthetic continuum that fuses story, dance, song, noise, music, and drum. It would be fitting on a different occasion to compare Lovelace's exploration of transformative possibilities in the folk sensibility and folk traditions with work in the same vein by distinguished Caribbean writers Edouard Glissant and Kamau Braffet. I'm very interested in the folk. I've never seen one. But I know there is a folk sensibility. And I know that there are folk traditions. But I have never seen a folk. So that is the kind of thing I would go into if I ever get around to doing the comparison between Loveless, Kamau, and Glissant. It's a very rich topic. There are many topics one would have to cover in trying to describe the richness of Lovelace's work, such as the memorability of his characters, the sense of stories striving everywhere to break surface, technical innovations like freeing us from the exclusive vision and voice of an omniscient narrator who absurdly knows everything and everyone, past, present, and future. Releasing us from that single voice tyranny and allowing the characters in the book to share in the narration so we feel that we are listening to a community communing or arguing with itself. Other topics include the lyricism and wonder with which he describes the sudden blow of falling in love. I don't think any other writer has written about the magic and mystery and even the violence of falling in love that Lovelace has done. And then too, his great courage and common sense, his honest projection of sex as a human necessity. If you don't get it, you go off-key and sick and crazy. And nobody wants to say that. And nobody wants to say that people has to learn about it, because it's a dangerous thing if you don't know what it is you are living with. But when you read his books, you see that he is fully aware of this, and he wants us to think about it. And then there is his unrelenting war on the lazy cultivation of a mantra of victimhood. Everybody wants to be a victim. If you spend your life being a victim, talking about what people do to you, you wouldn't do anything in the world. And making all of these things possible is the suppleness of a language grown from the soil of Trinidad and coming out of the mouths of men and women who speak their truth in laughter, in quarrel, in ceremony, in rage. So I sat down there trying to decide, and I had to pray. I don't pray. Tell me what to write. I have chosen to pay tribute to Lovelace's staying power and his continuing relevance by looking at his original contribution in the novel Salt to the current discourse on reparation. This may seem to be a narrow selection from a large and complex work. It is a novel critical of the selfish obsessions of politicians and other leaders. It is a revisionary journey through the three cardinal sins of enslavement, emancipation, and independence, really penetrating inside of those items, turning them inside out, and giving them a kind of symbolic reference, a kind of question we have to ask in everything we do. When I go to work, when I have to get up at 4 in the morning to go to work, am I an enslaved person? When I have to do what people tell me and I don't have a chance to say what I want to do, am I an emancipated person? When I'm called in by the government because they think I'm fiddling my income tax, I don't work. I'm among the unemployed, so I do have to fiddle with income tax. Am I independent? So these political events and these historic events come to life in the mind of the reader. These are things that I suffered too. We didn't have to have a parade for it, but they are part of my life. And that's part of the way in which he gets deep into our history. This book is a profound meditation on the meaning of freedom and its transforming possibilities for the person and for the societies in which persons find themselves. It notices with an almost cynical sense of doom the retreat of our leaders and our politicians again and again from the frightening task of turning an electorate into a population of free men and women who you cannot manipulate or bribe. So why am I talking or proposing to talk about reparation? Because in his hands, all the things I've mentioned fit into the category or the need for reparation. His treatment of the theme broadens and deepens reparation, turns it into an elastic concept which applies to all human relationships between a man and his woman, between fathers and children, all human relationships. So this concept, this notion of reparation is not just you do me that and now you have to pay. You have to make up for it. It's a very subtle elaboration and expansion of the concept. And I will go into that in a minute. Just by way of explanation, this piece that I'm doing now has been hacked out of a long draft that kept going on and on like a Loveless sentence, pacing itself and holding its course, pulling every would-be digression into the main flow. And if you don't use the resting places he provides you, you find yourself choking and out of breath before you reach the full stop. I think Nicholas called it what? Precise rambling. Precisely rambling. So the plan was to go into a discussion of orality, oral traditions, and the linguistic spectrum, and putting Loveless in dialogue with Glissant and Kamau, to do a custom-built overview of the arc of his writing career, showing that in a general way, all his fictions express conditions and feelings that add dimensions to the idea of reparation. And I would have cited places in all the writings before Salt that are part of the evolution towards a native or home-based theory of reparation. A view of reparation that has more to do with the mind and heart of oppressor and oppressed than restitution in cash or kind. I had hoped to look at his presentation of women in light of the theory of reparation and to recognize how original and brave he is in looking at the flesh and spirit centrality of spontaneous and enlightened human sexuality. I would have traced his running commentary on politics and politicians in our country. But as I said, I feel that the discussion of reparation includes and touches upon all these things. So while I think you're still fresh, I want to look at two passages from Salt, the novel of 1996. In the first passage, on page 172, the narrating voice describes the excited and hopeful musings of Jojo Durity, a stick-fighting warrior figure and community hero, as he prepares himself in good faith to make a new life and come into his own with the emancipation that is about to be announced by the governor of the slave colony. I cite the passage at this point because we can hold it in the background as a comprehensive statement of the challenges of freedom that Lovelace explores everywhere in his fiction. And I just want to, you can read it yourselves, but I just want to pinpoint an important thought in Jojo's mind. He had to think of forgiveness. He had to think of the scriptures, of the part that said, Lord, how many times shall my brother offend me? And try to understand the meaning of unto 70 everlasting times 7. To understand that his brothers and his own sin and forgiveness was an ongoing wrestling between human frailty and God's grace, a cycle of violation and restoration, of injury and healing as the lot of mankind. And the passage continues towards the end of it. What was man? What was tribe and people and race and country? He had to re-examine all the old questions, to look again at the old songs, the old sayings, the stories, the meanings. And he had to be careful about looking back to what things might have been. He had to look towards the future. He had to find the elation, the zeal for his new life. For what he had woken up to was a new world. And that experience we have in reading his novels of an unrelenting, searching quest to build a new world, that is one of the great comforts to me of his writing. At the age of 17, roughly in 1821, Jojo had been sentenced to have one ear cut off for attempting to escape from the slave plantation. around 1821. For the next 13 years, he went underground, entering into the life of the plantation, learning how to conjure power out of his situation of powerlessness, mastering the chantual calypso art of parody, ridicule, double entendre, grand charge, mamagai, and papichou. He moved around like a free man, avoiding work gangs, picking up trades, moving from woman to woman with nothing to offer but the touch of his unconquerable spirit, his dreams, and moments of restoring each other and loving each other with a sense of no tomorrow. And he went along with his dances and his singing and his loneliness, carrying in his bosom the treasure of all that tenderness, all that love, and only this way to give it. And it is about these women that Jojo first thinks when he heard that emancipation was coming. He is disappointed and wounded to the bone by the governor's announcement that emancipation will only come into effect after a period of apprenticeship, during which time enslaved people would be trained to be free. Jojo understood, as the ordinary people in the crowd did, that this emancipation was not the freedom, not that day or any other day for that matter. What it had done was to maneuver them into accepting not freedom, but the promise of being set at liberty, with no more attention given to their years of degradation and captivity and abuse than if they had been dogs that had been chained and were now going to be loosened to fend for themselves. And he knew that if they accepted these terms of freedom, they would be forfeiting their own future and the future of this island. We remember that Jojo's brother Noble left the island to take part in revolutionary struggle in South America. And even before that, his brother Hubert became the leader of a Maroon community in the Tamana forest, defending their freedom against marauding British troops for many years. And when Jojo looks around at the people for uprising and revolt against driving with handbrakes on, or with an instructor in the passenger seat, equipped to take control whenever he likes, all he could see were the same astonished and outraged faces of people who had learned to wait, of people who had learned to calculate. But he was ready to dead. He entered the Gael, where he began in his cracked, plaintive voice, not a bongo song, but a stick-fight chant, the song of a warrior with a battle before him, dancing "Tell Me Who to Kill" into exhaustion and collapse. So I'm trying to bring out Lovelace's account of a long tradition of resistance, revolt, sabotage, disobedience against these bogus gifts, like this bogus emancipation, resistance to enslavement. Lovelace builds his novel around enslavement, emancipation, and independence. 3 disfiguring experiences in the history of his fictional country. He looks at these 3 periods, and in each one, he installs an iconic figure, forming a bloodline, preserving resistance, revolt, and the true self, ready to suffer a transcendent martyrdom, which is never to be confused with surrender. It is a bloodline whose members cannot be broken by physical violence, psychological warfare, or unceasing degradation and defamation. And it wasn't just the men alone. It had women there that was even more terrible. They had to ban them from talking. They had to ban them from walking and from raising up their dress tail and shaking their melodious backsides. It wasn't easy. The plantation people couldn't handle them. They beat them. They hold them down and turn them over and do them whatever wickedness they could manage. But they couldn't break them. First in the bloodline is the legendary Guinea John during the period of enslavement. He was accused and pronounced guilty of being in conspiracy to massacre whites and free-coloreds under the cover of Christmas festivities. Guinea John is the great-grandfather of Jojo Doherty, who was at war with false emancipation. Jojo is the grandfather of Bagoo, living in the purity of an independence parallel to the song and dance orchestrated by the state. So that's the bloodline that runs like a spine through the 300 years of the novel, standing for resistance, integrity, preservation of selfhood, etc., etc. Guinea John, Jojo Doherty, Bagoo Doherty. The novel begins with a strange incident. It wasn't strange to me, but I don't fully understand it, but that doesn't make it strange. The novel begins with Guinea John as a man with a price on his head. He made his way to the East Coast, mounted a cliff at Manzanilla, put 2 corn cobs under his armpits, and flew away to Africa, taking with him the mysteries of levitation and flight, and leaving the rest of his family still in captivity. The family gossip is that Guinea John has abandoned them and has refused to pass on his knowledge to them. When Guinea John appears to his daughter a year later, he explains his reason for going to Africa and suggests to her that when people curse their elders, the next step is to curse their gods. He loved his children. It was their living that would make him an ancestor. His wisdom was theirs to have. But they had eaten salt and made themselves too heavy to fly. So because now their future would be in the islands, he preferred not to place temptation in their way by revealing to them the mysteries of flight. Jojo and Bagoo know how to retreat into the castle of their skin and sustain themselves on the hidden culture of the folk and the ways of the land and the working people around them. So the legacy of Guinea John is not only, yes, I had the powers of levitation and flight, but you are here in this place, and you have eaten salt, and this is your place now. You can draw upon my wisdom, your memories of me, draw upon it to help you to make a life in this place. But you have to make a life in this place. Bagoo is the most aggressive inheritor of Guinea John's idea of belonging to a place and its collective memory, while retaining genetic memories whose pressures we may feel, but may never be able to predict or explain. Bagoo's philosophical and political possession has always been that the ownership of land throughout slavery and colonialism has been nothing less than usurpation. He also holds that paid employment is a new form of slavery. And that is why, since 1962, an ironic Bagoo has been funding and enacting a satirical alternative to the state's official celebration by leading an annual independence march of village boys through the streets of Cascadoo, deciding after the first year to give prominence in his tableau vivant to 4 boys, each to represent one of the major races of the island. For more than 20 years, even as the forces of division, money, power, individualism, racial insecurity entrench themselves in the modern politics of the island, Bagoo continues to project his vision of the island's future as the home of one people composed of all the peoples who inhabits this space. He takes racial unity as a natural outcome of the meeting of peoples and cultures in a small place and a precondition of freedom and independence. But there's a stumbling block. The village admires his persistence and are attached to the annual spectacle of Bagoo's march, but they do not plan to join him. They are entertained by the annual ritual, but they do not think of it as a call to action. For what purpose, we cannot guess, but there is a general feeling that Bagoo deserves a medal for long and meritorious service to the community. Without quite understanding Bagoo's point, the politician Alfred wants to give Bagoo a piece of land for his own use and as a symbolic recognition of the government's responsibility to provide land for all the people from whom it had been withheld by slavery and colonialism. The politician Alfred is a very interesting chap. He was dumb until he was about 6 years old, and then he was taken for healing, not an Obia woman, but a science woman. Eventually, he learns to speak. And he starts off as a kind of Napoleon figure who wants to go out into the larger world. The place in which he lives now, the island in which he lives now, is not big enough. It is only a temporary place. He has to prepare himself and groom himself and go out into the larger world where there are real people and real activities and real possibilities of achievement. It would take too long to go into an analysis of well, lucky I can't find it. Yeah. I just want to read one section, or two little sections, where Alfred has illuminations. He is the most sympathetic political figure in Lovelace's fiction, but he comes from very, very far, from a man who did not believe that this was home or could be home, a man who could not believe that this is a place where I ought to be and where I can strive and where I can achieve, a thorough colonial, even worse than Ivan Morton. He has two important discoveries. And he's thinking now about his life. 19 years as a teacher, and he had spent them contributing to a system that gave all its rewards, put all its prestige towards training a few students for escape. Failure was to not escape. To fail to escape was defeat. Defeat even before you began. And that is why you would accept the second-classness of the place. Second-classness was the punishment for the defeated, the failures. What redeemed this system? How many escaped? How many did in fact win a college exhibition? In all the years the school had been preparing students for the examination, 3 of them had won college exhibitions. Those left behind were the failures. He realized that saving the 2 or 3, if you could call it saving, was not enough for his life's vocation. If he was to go on, he would have to begin afresh to prepare children for living in the island. And he goes up the road and he does a Kublal thing, right? He's fasting for the government to get rid of the system of government exhibitions, and the criminal deprivation of children of their childhoods. And let us devise another system of education, which draws the attention of the ruling party. And eventually, he is seduced into the ruling party. He had been making plans. He and 4 or 5 thinking fellows to form their own political party. But when he is invited to be chairman of a party group, he comes into the, well, boys, I get a chance to work from the inside. So let us don't bother with this new party. Let me work from the inside, and we can build from there. So he goes and he becomes a cabinet minister. And the next stage in his development is that he realizes that being a cabinet minister and being a member of the government has not enabled him to do anything for the country. I have forgotten my mission. I have become part of the tapestry of pretense at power. I, who ought to have been the one to disturb this numbing peace, have now become keeper of that peace. I have joined the gang of overseers that help to keep this place a plantation. A man by a coconut vendor tell him, "The party mama going you, they're going to dump you when they're ready." Thank you, brother man. Thank you. Words that had easily slipped off my tongue: African, revolution, reparation, land distribution, decision making, are now all coated with explosives, and I no longer want the explosion. Not a new statue had been raised, not an old one raised. Little pun there. And so Alfred dedicates himself to being a teacher who teaches the children to learn to live in their country. The same thing that Guinea John was advising. And Alfred is used by Lovelace to repudiate the bogus politics that bypasses the ordinary people of the country. I have 11 pages and I'm now on page 10. So, hold strain. Alfred calls in Bagoo and is about to use him. I want to give you a piece of land to show that we care about you all. Another fellow say, well, if you're giving land, you're giving any to a Chinese fellow, you're giving any to an Amerindian, if you're going to make a kind of thing like that, you have to give everybody. But that is just in passing. He's persisting with the thing that he's giving the land to Bagoo. Bagoo thanks Alfred for the offer of land. But to Bagoo, the issue goes further and deeper than land. There were many questions white people in the island had to answer. How, he went on, do you face in liberty a people who you organize a whole island to keep in prison? How are you going to live in liberty with a people whose bondage you make the basis of your land settlement policy? How are you going to free a people who you root up from their homeland and force against their will to give their labor for 300 years to you? These difficult questions to be put to the oppressor are previewed in the schoolmaster. And if we can get the piece from the schoolmaster, I'm not going to read it, I'm just leave it there for people to look at in an idle moment. How difficult these questions are for the oppressor is previewed in the schoolmaster. Ben had a lovely horse. Captain Grant sees him riding the horse, says, that's a lovely horse. You want to sell it? No, I don't want to sell it. Ben ties up his horse, goes to work, going back, going home. Captain waiting there again. You sure you don't want to sell the house? And Ben says, well, I see that what's going on in his head is that this horse is too good for me. I don't deserve that. So, all right, Captain, you want the horse? Take it. I'm not selling it. I'm giving it to you. And I don't want no 15 horses in compensation. Just take it. And, I mean, if we could have seen Captain Grant's face, right? The embarrassment, the humiliation, the rage that this black man could get on as my moral superior. You know, the next day, Captain shoot the horse. Why shoot the horse? He broke his foot, and I had to put him out of his misery. So, one of the things I was going to try to do is to show how in various novels before Salt, the ingredients that go into the philosophy of Salt are scattered. And Salt then represents a pulling together of all of those through the theory of reparation. Bagoo, to come back to Bagoo, Bagoo doesn't fall into the trap of setting up monuments to victimhood. He doesn't make the white man out into being a devil or another kind of creature inhabiting another world outside the human order. I'm not demonizing you. You are a bad human being. If you're a demon, I can't tell you anything. I can't exempt you from being a human being. I come to call him to account as a brother, to ask him to take responsibility for his humanness, just as I have to take responsibility for mine. And it's at this point, on which I'm going to close, that Lovelace allows Bagoo to outline a theory of reparation that includes Jojo's instinct for forgiveness to be exercised, plays in. And where that instinct for forgiveness becomes part of their ground for atonement and self-restoration. There was never any magic about what white people had to do. People knew it already in every part of the world. From time begin, people have always done each other wrong, not because one fella is so much more wicked than the next, but because to be stupid is a principal part of what it is to be human. And unless we want to doom ourselves to remain forever locked in the terrors of the error of our stupidity, we try to repair the wrong by making reparation. So many cows, so much land, so you could face again yourself and restore for yourself and the one you injure the sense of what it is to be human. Thank you.
To use your words, we held Shrin, 11 pages, but absolutely worth it. Professor, thank you very much for the insights you've shared with us and for your lifelong devotion to the work of Caribbean writers like Earl Loveless. We truly appreciate it. Now, with those insights still fresh in our ears, let's turn back to the world of Earl Loveless and hear brief excerpts, or more, if you will, from two of his more recent books. Writer Celeste Mohammed will read from the novel It's Just a Movie. And finally, we will hear a poem from Loveless's new collection, The Beginning of a Journey, read by Andre Bagoo.
Good evening. From Franklin Batting. In Cascadoo, when Franklin went in to bat, around the ground the talking would stop. People would look for a good place to sit. And from the savannah, the word would go out. Little fellas taking off running in different directions to make the announcement. Franklin Batting! Franklin Batting! Through the whole village it would go, Franklin Batting. And before she go out her door, Miss Dolly would pull out the firewood from the fireside and add some water to the pot she cook in, so it would bubble slow while the wood glowed to ashes. Rabbit and Jerry would get up off the bench in front of the rum shop. People buying in the grocery would hurry up with their message. And even down 8 Mile it would reach, Kenny slowing down his taxi to shout as he passed into the people bathing by the spring. Hey, all you, Franklin Batting. You hear what I'm saying? Franklin. Franklin Batting. Franklin Batting. And would drive maybe another 5 minutes making the announcement before he turn around and pick up those who ready and carry them back up to the cricket ground. Old cricketers like Hosein and Montague and Hercules would leave from in front Cyril House where they stand up talking. And Bank and Pico and Copper and George from different starting points, not even knowing exactly where they're going, seeing people moving, would feel the tug of a grand event and begin to follow. And only after they're on their way, they would ask, where are we going? And the answer would come, Franklin Batting. Franklin, yes, Batting. And in the gallery of the house behind the savannah, Manic Father, off today from driving the steamroller, sitting down in his hammock, would make sure he have a big cup of water and peanuts in a bowl beside him on the floor, so he wouldn't have to move while Franklin Batting. In the savannah, people there already on the mound of the hill that was the pavilion would dress wrong to make room for old man Castillo and his 2 partners, and feel the pathos as these men contemplate, then laboriously engage the Herculean task of sitting down. Their bones creaking as they hold out their hands, feeling for the ground, and with a sigh in salute to the pain in their knees, in their bones, would ease themselves down, on the grass. And nobody would say nothing. Just watch Franklin with the bat in his hands walk out to the ground with his slouching walk, bending and unbending his shoulders like the 2 ends of an accordion, lifting his knees high, one first, then the other, like the limbering up exercise of a high jumper. Then he hold himself down and walk off again, nonchalant this time, like a prince who never see a day of trouble, his head in the air like he walking on a rope stretched across the sky, so confident his balance that he not even looking down to see where he put in his foot. After he marked with chalk the spot on the matting where he would take his stand, Franklin would settle over his bat, casting to one side with a shrug, the cape invoked on his shoulders, and look now at the bowler run up to release the ball. People look at cricket for the runs. But with Franklin, it was the runs, yes, it was runs. But his batting wasn't only runs. It was the spring in his step. It was the dance of his body, the confident readiness of muscles to move forward or sideways or back, to tiptoe or pivot or kneel or duck. And then the ball would come, and he would leave it alone. Just that, watch the ball and withhold his bat from it. And although it didn't show in the scorebook, that was a stroke. That was a statement. That was an acknowledgement of the bowler and an announcement to the world that we hear. We have eyes, we ready. Just a hint to them that they can't play the ass, that they have to put it on a length. We not going powerful, stupid chasing after wide balls. Put it on the stumps. Put it on the stumps until I'm ready for you. Franklin had 3 leave-alones. He would leave alone in acknowledgement of a good ball, not even having to shake his head, not even doing nothing like that, just an ordinary leave alone. And he would leave alone as a warning to say, don't put it there again. Sometimes with a smile to mask his perplexity and to acknowledge that the pitch of the ball or its flight or its pace deceive him a little, a wee bit, he would leave alone. Measuring the distance from the ball so as to know exactly what to do when the bowler put the next ball in the same spot. And all that is batting, and he ain't even start to score yet. I'm not even talking yet about Franklin going down on one knee and sweeping to square leg, or climbing back on his back foot and slapping it back past the bowler, not a man move. I ain't talking yet of Franklin up on tiptoes, his eyes fixed big on the ball he'd been watching its whole journey from the bowler's hand. And even after it passed his waist and looked like it about to go past his wicket, he had already pivoted, like he do in a bullfight dance. And just when the keeper feel he have the ball in his fists, his bat come down sweet and long, long and sweet, slap between the keeper and slips. How you going to stop we? How you going to keep we down? And all round the wicket, each in its own time, each of the chosen and appropriate ball would be the music of bat on ball, punctuated by the chorus of our applause. Though it wasn't Franklin alone we were applauding. When Franklin batted, we were the ones batting. And in the mirror that he had become, we would see ourselves in contest with the world. He was holding the bat, but the strokes was our strokes. And the bowler was England or Australia or Pakistan, the world. Yes, the world. It was ourselves we were applauding. And when he finished batting, when he get out, a curtain of silence would fall, like when the evening sun that you know going to rise tomorrow goes down. Thank you.
Well, as we've heard tonight from all of these excerpts, and even from the literary analysis, Mr. Loveless is clearly a poet. I'm going to read a poem from his debut collection, The Beginning of the Journey, which was published last month by Peepal Tree Press. After Carnival. Waves, you crumble upon shore like masqueraders after Carnival, when feet sprawl, dead tired, waves upon millions of grains of broken stone. But oh, there was music you danced to. You swam the streets with rhythm, and while it lasted, form. Now you're mute as carnival drums on Ash Wednesday, and the rhythm that was motion has ceased. Motion was music you danced to. When you danced in silken waters, that was music too. You were silken waters, gliding along sea's avenues. You were the sound of waves. The waves' sound moved to rhythm, though we, watching, saw rhythm, did not think of music, the sound, but of form. Now there is no form, with the music hushed, and your own body broken and sprawled between grey sands. As music was the essence of your being, so was motion the essence of your form. And without the song to stir you, your carnival, and no drums. Happy birthday, Mr. Loveless, in advance.
Thank you to both Celeste and Andre, both writers. And we are soon to transition from the literary to the musical part, an act following to that piece. But I first ask you to welcome to the stage Marina Solandi Brown, founder, past festival director, and current president of the Bogus Lit Fest, to say some words of thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's my distinct honor to thank you all for being here this evening at the beginning of the 2025 Festival of Words, Stories, and Ideas to celebrate 90 years of Earl Loveless. Please give him another huge round of applause. We're only getting his birthday off to a start because it's not actually his birthday today. He's going to be having a birthday all year long, I think. We thank you, Earl, and your family for allowing us to honor you in this way at this evening's event. Thank you all. Professor Emeritus Ken Ramchand is someone to whom all Caribbean people, not just writers and readers, owe a huge debt for his seminal work in establishing our literature as a discipline and a literature worthy of critical and academic consideration. I'd like you to give him another big round of applause, please. Thank you for your very edifying lecture. Professor Ramchand has given us a fine start to what we hope will become the annual Earl Loveless Distinguished Lecture, in which each year someone of renown highlights a subject of the arts in its broadest sense, like the long-standing Eric Williams Memorial Lecture that Nicholas referred to. Thank you, Dr. Hilaire and the team of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago for your enthusiasm in hosting this event and this evening's lecture. And here I must mention Naima Moakil Zakuri and Adeline Gregoire, who curated the exhibition of Central Bank artworks with the theme of the writing of Earl Loveless, which we will see when we move downstairs shortly. And huge thanks to Mr. Leslie Clarke of Murphy Clarke Financial Limited, whose generous sponsorship has made this evening possible. We are very indebted to you. Please give them a round of applause. This year, we also celebrate 15 years of the Bogus Lit Fest. It's not 90, I know, but it's 15 consecutive years of making a difference, and I think it shows staying power, which has been a theme of this evening. So I think you could give us a round of applause. Thank you all for your continued support that gives us the confidence to keep pushing the boundaries. Bogus would not have survived in isolation, or we would not have thrived without collaboration. We tell our stories in many forms, and Bogus recognizes all genres of storytelling, Dr. Hilaire: theater, music, dance, carnival, arts, and the visual arts, as different forms of cultural self-expression. It was interesting that, I can't remember the year now, I'm sure Nicholas remembers, there were some directors of the Edinburgh Writers' Festival, the Edinburgh International Festival of Literature, and they came down, and every year we do extempo debate, and they were so taken with this form of self-expression that two of our calypsonians, extempo calypsonians, were invited to take part in the Edinburgh Festival, which was really quite something. And of course, we promote all our different forms of art and culture, and it has been exported, which is something I'll just come back to. And the thing about it is that all of these forms of expression are actually akin to writing and to literature. And there's something that we really, really focus on steadfastly. It is my pleasure, too, to let you know that to celebrate our landmark 15th birthday, Che Lovelace, son of Earl Loveless, has honored us by allowing the use of the image Reader Close to Palms for a commemorative poster to mark 15 years of the Bogusit Fest. The poster is both a keepsake and, like the other artworks commissioned by us, is also a fundraiser for Bogusit Fest. Che has been garnering an international reputation, exhibiting widely, and just 2 weeks ago, the French ambassador, His Excellency Didier Chabert, on behalf of the French Republic, conferred upon Che the honor of Knight of the Order of Arts and Letters, France's highest honor for the arts. Unfortunately, fortunately for Che and unfortunately for us, he's actually in New York, opening yet another show, which is as it should be. The poster image, Reader Close to Palms, reflects the deep personal relationship between reader and place, and is a perfect emblem of this milestone year. And now that Che's work commands international prizes, it may be the closest that some of us get to having a Che Lovelace image in our homes. The limited edition high-quality prints courtesy Trinidad, our print partner, are available here this evening and also during the festival at the National Library and thereafter at the bookshop Paper-Based, which is at the Writers' Center in St. Clair. We've produced only one previous poster by renowned artist Jackie Hinkson, once Che's art teacher at QRC, the Queen's Royal College. Like Reader Close to Palms, Jackie's sepia-colored crayon drawing of the landmark old fire station and the modern, very modern, National Library behind it is a collectible piece of art. That poster, which marked 10 years of the Bogusit Fest, is also available here this evening and at the festival from Paper-Based Bookshop at the National Library. And as I said, later on at Paper-Based, at the Writers' Center. Early on, we asked two Trinidadian artists, Wendy Nanan and Nikolai Noel, and British-born Trinidad and Tobago resident Chris O'Philly, winner of the prestigious Turner Prize in Britain, to create an original work of art for the festival, which they did on 3 consecutive years. Numbered copies of these were made by master craftsmen in London and New York, and signed copies of each are part of the national collection of the National Museum and Art Gallery. A few copies of these highly collectible but affordable works of art are still available, and you can find information about them on our website. Of course, all of this is because we would like you and art collectors to contribute to the work that we do and to our funding. As you know, we're a non-profit organization. I would like to thank Che Lovelace, Jackie Hinkson, Wendy Nana, Nikolai Noel, and Chris O'Philly for their generosity and collaborations. The success at home and abroad of our new generation of writers who stand on the shoulders of giants has made us all proud. Their books have been translated into well over a dozen languages, tongues some of us are hardly aware of, yet strangely enough, very few into Spanish, despite us living beside Latin America. But we expect that to start changing soon. It's important because while we may not regard our literary output as an export, it's a very valuable one. Culture is a powerful commodity, and we shouldn't underestimate its capacity for shaping minds and attitudes and putting our country, all our countries in the Caribbean, on the world map. We talk about soft power, but we have it, and we underuse it. Helping Bocas in our role to strengthen that power has been the OCM Bocas Prize, which is funded by One Caribbean Media. It's a prize for Caribbean literature. And that too is 15 years old this year. And I would like to thank Mrs. Dawn Thomas, Director of One Caribbean Media, for making this possible. And would you please give her a big round of applause. That prize has actually enabled the region's best contemporary writers to advance their careers. Also celebrating 15 years of unerring collaboration and support, a Massey Foundation and the University of the West Indies. We thank you and also the government of Trinidad and Tobago, First Citizens, J.B. Fernandez Memorial Trust, and we're able to deliver our mission thanks to your vital support for our literary talent. The British Council, Wyndham Campbell Prizes, and our other international partners, thank you for the invaluable and sustained alliance. All our program partners, in-kind sponsors, and the media, we would not be able really to do the sort of festival we've done year after year without your support and your help and collaboration. As an NGO, we depend on all that you do, and not just in one simple way, but in many, many ways. And if you've been to the festival year after year, you'll know what we're talking about. It's really quite impressive how many people have come together to help us during these 15 years. Finally, let me thank our august prize-winning writer-readers, Kevin Jared Hosein, Barbara Jenkins, Celeste Mohammed, and Andrew Bagoo. Would you give them a round of applause, please? Thank you to this evening's technical team, to our MC, Anchor Williams, and of course, the indefatigable Bocas Litfest Festival team led by Nicholas Laughlin. We have lined up for you 3 more days of over 50 free events. Only you have to pay for 1 or 2 of them, but most of them are free. And we hope that you will enjoy them. And I hope that some of you who have not been before or have not been often will be surprised. And let's have some more of that right now, because coming up, I think you will see from your program, or maybe you don't know, we have some lovely music for you. Thanks in advance to the Freetown Collective. Looking forward to seeing you all over the next, this very, very special weekend, over the next 3 days at the National Library. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Solani Brown. And you let the cat out of the bag, but I'm sure that means that more people are staying for the entertainment. After all, Trinidad and Tobago's musical traditions are a constant reference in Earl Lovelace's novels. So, having paid tribute through the written word, it is time for some music. Here to perform for Earl Lovelace, for all of us, here is Freetown Collective.
Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Good evening, everybody. Now, as these things tend to go, just give us literally 1 minute, I hope, to get technically ready. The mind of an artist, the mind of a writer, is one of the most vast places in the known universe. It takes us to places that literally don't exist except that we think about them. And then the writer has the audacity to describe them to you. Sometimes those places exist in a future you can't even dream about. And sometimes those places exist in a past that you have forgotten. And in both of those cases, the writer becomes one of the most important individuals that exists in all of humanity. So please put your hands together on this 90th for Earl Loveless, who is someone who has dreamed with and for us and reminded us on many occasions of who we are. So we thank you, Papa. Appreciate you. All right. But you don't reach there just so. No. To get to that place, you have to go through a lot of things, you know? Something like this. Oh na 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 na, 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 eh eh eh. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na. You've got to soar on your own, soar on your own, oh yeah, soar on your own. Now you've got to seek out the sky, yeah, seek out the sky, oh, seek out the sky. Well then you got to see for yourself now, see for yourself now, wow, wow, wow. See for yourself if you want to learn how to fly, want to learn how to fly, yeah.
Learn how to fly, want to learn how to fly now.
Wings don't get strong, no, until they're tested, and you still don't know, you don't know what your best is, bye bye bye. You can't touch your dreams now if you don't take flight. Can you hear me now? Sometimes in this life you've got to fight for what's right. Come on and soar on your own, soar on your own, oh yeah, soar on your own. Now you've got to seek out the sky, yeah, seek out the sky, oh, seek out the sky. Well, when you're better, see for yourself now, see for yourself now, see for yourself. If you want to learn how to fly, want to learn how to fly, yeah, learn how to fly, want to learn how to fly. Wings don't get strong you still don't know, what your best is, bye bye bye. You can't touch your dreams now if you don't take flight. Can you hear me now? Sometimes in this life you've got to fight for what's right. Come on and soar on your own, soar on your own. And on that journey you take, many times you find yourself by yourself, right? Hey Papa, find yourself by yourself. And if you don't have the confidence to know that it's your time now to work and move forward, yeah, want to learn how to fly. Learn how to fly, yeah, yeah. Whoa na 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 na, whoa na 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 na, whoa na 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 na, whoa na 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 na, whoa na 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 na, whoa na 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 na. Bass man, y'all hear me, right? Proper? Proper? If you hear me proper, say proper. Alright. I don't really hear me. A little bit right here, and not too much reverb. I want the people listen, I don't want them get disturbed. So, Mr. Sound Man, take it easy. Give me some sound and let it please me. Alright. Alright. Yeah, man. Well, anytime you're ready, give me something. Yeah, na 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 na. Whoa, ba 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 ba. Whoa, ba 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 ba. See, when the valley couldn't hold me, they throw me in the river, thinking I would drown, but man, a good swimmer. Oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And when the river didn't drown, we they throw we in the fire, but the fire just cool. I could never burn. No, 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 no. 'Cause I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Yeah. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. See, when the valley couldn't hold me, they throw me in the river, thinking I would drown. Man, a good swimmer. Oh, 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 yeah. And when the river didn't drown me, they throw me in the fire, but the fire just cool. I could never burn. Let me hear something. All right.
They throw me in the river. And when the river didn't throw me, they throw me in the fire, but the fire just.
Fire just what? Tell me now.
And when the river didn't throw me, they throw me in the fire, but the fire just.
Fire just what? Come on now.
And when the river didn't throw me, they throw me in the fire, but the fire just. Cool.
Hey! Mix me now. Freetown is my family. Whole Caribbean follow we. Roots deeper than forestry. Evergreen like the forest be. Terrible them can't manage we. Africa no apology. Africa no apology. Hey, I'm a believer.
Freetown is my family.
Caribbean follow we. Roots deeper than forestry. Evergreen like the forest be. Terrible they can't manage me. Africa no apology. Africa no apology. Oh, I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Oh, will you do me a favor? Let's put your hands together for them right now. Oh my God. Can we get a little light on the audience? I do always like when it's in the dark like this. You can put your lights up a little bit. A little bit more. I want to see the smiling faces. People come from many, many different places. And right. How many of you is the first time you ever see out here in Freetown Collective live? Just put your hand like this. I like that it's a very small amount of people. I like that. I'm going to give you all a special treat. So, on this end, we have Shana. Everybody say good night, Shana. Hold on. Take the mic and come forward. Take the mic and come forward. Take the mic and then take the mic and then take the mic and come forward. I say.
Good night, everybody. Hey. When the valley couldn't hold me, they throw me in the river, thinking I would drown, but man a good, man a good, man a good, man a good. Oh, a good swimmer, why? When the river didn't drown me, they throw me in the fire. The fire just cool, cool, cool. Hey, hey, hey.
On this end, we have Malini. Everybody say good night, Malini. Hey, take the mic and come forward.
When the valley couldn't hold me, they throw me in the river, thinking I would drown, but girl, I could swim out. Oh, yeah. And when the river didn't drown me, they throw me in the fire, but the fire just cool.
Take them higher.
The fire just cool.
Take them higher now.
The fire just cool.
And in the middle we have Tashana. Everybody say good night, Tashana. Well, all right then.
When the valley couldn't
church, Tashana. Take them to church, Tashana.
If I just cool, if I just cool, if I just cool, if I just cool.
Well, this is Freetown Collective Live. I really hope you're having a good time tonight. Your faces look so lovely and bright. All right. Yeah, na 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 na. Whoa, ba 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 ba. Whoa, ba 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 ba. Yes. I want you all to take all the love in your room. All the love you could muster in yourself right now. And just send it right in front here. This man is most deserving. You know? Please put your hands together again. Again for Earl Loveless. Dancing, moving, grooving.
Dancing, moving, grooving.
Now I know it's Central Bank, but feel free to get up if you want. You can move a little bit. You can even come in front here, but do not get in front of the... You come in front of the Trinidadians, or they could show all the non-Trinidadians how to do this if all they want. Or they could sit down. Either way. You have weak off it. I know that. This city can't hold me, my vibe's too high, and my heart it told me jump right now, you will touch the sky. Feel my love unfolding like a laughing flame. All who did not know me when I done, they would know the name. A million people coming down, dancing to a song. I know y'all could sing it up. Love is life and life is love, blessings from above. Yeah. Can you feel the love that's in the air? Well, if you feel it, let me hear you say dancing, moving, moving, oh yeah. If you feel it, let me hear you say na 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 na. Yeah, na na. Oh oh. Yeah, man. Watch me. Take me to the river. Take me to the sea. Wash over me music. Bathe me in your melody. We are such a blessed tribe. Sweeter than a million bees. People live 1,000 lives and never feel this free. Hey. Dancing, dancing, dancing. Yes, sir. Love is life and life is love. Blessings from above. Sing with me. Can you feel the love that's in the air? I know you can feel it. You can even see it now. Dancing, moving, grooving everywhere. If you feel it, let me hear you say na 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 na. Na, 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 na. Everybody sing na, 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 na. Take me to the river, take me to the river. Wash over me music, wash over me, eh. Take me to the river, take me to the river. Wash over me music. Can everybody sing with me? Like a choir, like a choir.
Dancing, moving, moving everywhere.
If you feel it, let me hear.
Can you feel the love that's
That real lovely. You'll not even see me smiles the way I see it now. So we have one more song. And somebody in the audience just caught my eye. So I have to dedicate this song to her. Because before I met Pearl and Two Springer, I don't even think I was actually a Trinbagonian, right? I didn't know anything about my culture. I didn't know anything about myself. And she told me as much, you know? And anybody who understands Mama N2 know exactly what I mean. But under her tutelage, under her watchful eye, as a young man, I blossomed. And I became something in this life. So I appreciate you and I love you very much. Alright? Good. Please put your hands together for Pearl and Two Springer. So with that said, I must do this part of it. This is not my song, obviously. You all know there's this part here. But we must do this part. Because we honor what come before, and we are what is coming next. Right? So when you're ready, go like this for me. And everybody hand raise. And everybody give praise. And everybody hand raise. And if you know what I mean then, well, if you know what I mean then, well, if you know what I mean then, well, if you know what I mean then scream. Give Jah his praises. Let Jah be praised. The Father in his mercy, he sent a little music to make the vibrations raise. So Carnival Day, everybody come and celebrate. Everybody come and celebrate. See the ragamuffin congregate. Well, everybody come and celebrate. And everybody saying, eh, 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 eh. Me too. Eh, 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 eh. Ready? Eh, 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 eh. Come on, everybody saying, eh, 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 eh. I go cross any ocean to find it. Won't let no mountain get in the way. Hey. We come cross the water, been through the fire. I know that my heart will show me way. Well, everywhere you turn, you see people smiling. What? We don't see no creed and race. I don't want nobody tell me about leaving. We fight for we thing and this is we place. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Take me to a place where my heart don't feel no pain. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Where everybody's shouting out. It's a very dim deep down inside me. And if you're looking for me, you're gonna find me. Right there, right there. Ribbidi bim bim bidi. Right there. It's a very dim deep down inside me. Take me home, take me home, take me home. Wake me up before I fall asleep. Take me to a place where lovers meet. Marry me to the heart of Port of Spain. So if I ever leave, I'm bound to come again. Come again, come again. All around is fire and flames. Oh, this world is so crazy, yes. Protect we island, Father, we pray. Until the very end of the day. Yeah? Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home, take me home. Take me to a place where my heart don't feel no pain. Take me home, take me home, take me home. Where everybody's shouting out, right there, it's a baby dim. And if you're looking for me, you're gonna find me. Right there, right there. Ribbidi bim bim bidi. Right there. It's a baby dim. is only crime, they say only violence. Trinidad not good again. But here on these shores I sit down in silence, blessed by the sun and kissed by the rain. From all over the world we come to these islands. In her arms we made a home. And now that she needs me more than ever, how could I ever leave she alone? One more time we go. And everybody shouting out, right there. It's a very deep down inside me. And if you're looking for we, you go find me. Right there, right there. Ribbidi bim bim bidi. Right there. It's a very deep down inside me. Take me home, take me home, take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Take me again. Home. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. No pain. Take me home. Take
Ladies and gentlemen, Mohammed Muwakil, Lou Lyons, Malini Joseph, Shana Joseph, Tashana Williams, and Jaron Remy, Freetown Collective. I really wish I didn't have anything else to tell you after this, because that is the perfect way to wrap the night up. But this is actually the start of the festival, and we started on a good note, right? Absolutely. So the formal part of this evening is now come to a close, but the evening isn't over, guys. Please join us downstairs in the lobby for the opening of a special exhibition of artwork responding to the themes of Earl Lovelace's writings. Is All a We Is the Truth, hosted by the Central Bank Museum and curated by Adeline Georgie, and the reception celebration of our guest of honor at the start of the 2025 Bocas Lit Fest. Now remember, there are still 3 full days of festival events packed with readings and discussions, performances like the stellar one we just got, and films, and so much more. Guys, remember that copies of the festival guide with full details are available from Paper-Based Bookshop, both as well. And it has been an absolute delight and a pleasure to be your master of ceremonies. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your attendance. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and happy early birthday, Mr. Loveless. Guys, remember the birthday? Anybody remembers? Enjoy your night, get to your destination safely, and continue to celebrate ourselves.